Hi, my name is Vlad Watson, and I will be conducting an interview here at MMA today with you. For the record, today is April 22nd, 23rd, 2015. May I ask your name and date of birth?
Kyle Williams, born May 19th, 1988.
Okay, thank you. Which service did you serve in?
Army.
Army. Okay. What rank did you hold?
E4 specialist was the highest rank.
Okay. And where did you serve? Where were you stationed?
I was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
It's, I guess, about 3 hours north of St. Louis, northeast.
Okay. Alright. I'm going to ask you a few questions. What are some of your earliest memories?
The basic training, whole thing in the training, just being introduced to the military, the whole institution that is the military, the culture shock that's involved with the whole transition. So, that's my earliest memories.
What inspired you to join the Army?
Honestly, school. So I was actually in college when I joined the military. So just actually as a child, as a teenager, I never probably would imagine myself being in the military. But honestly, I just saw a commercial one day, as cliche as it probably sounds. It was a Go Army commercial. Then I literally called the number. Like they set up a time and date, and it was like quick. Some people, their experience would be like, okay, I signed up, I had to wait 6 months, blah blah blah. Mine was like this. Like I called like a week, two weeks later, I was in MEPS. Seemed like 3 weeks later, I was being shipped off, but there was no time to think. So based on that sporadic decision, I just followed the path without thinking too much about it. So,
was there any person in the family that supported you or did not support you?
My dad probably discouraged it because he did both. He actually retired from the Navy, so he'd been through the military experience, and he did the academic experience too, like getting his degrees, and he actually got a doctorate degree. So he was just saying, academia is the path. So he was trying to discourage the military, but I learned, and I'm glad I still went. People's experiences are different, so every military experience is different, and how an individual reacts to that situation is different. So I would discourage anybody from necessarily listening to anybody's advice as whether or not to join, because every experience is different, like I said, and every individual reacts different to the situation.
Absolutely.
So,
did you have anyone helping you, like help you get into the Army? How'd that work out?
Not really. My recruiter did, and my uncle, who's in the Army as well, was very close during that time. I was close to him, just asking him questions. He was just really assuring me the fact that the drill sergeants couldn't put their hands on you, and just really explaining the process, because he had been a drill sergeant. So just like sort of breaking it down, making it less scary than it may have seemed. So he really helped me through that process.
Gotcha. Did they have the ASVAB that thing?
Yeah.
They did.
Not that old. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I asked this already, but what inspired you to join?
Yeah,
I know.
A sporadic decision. So with that being said, also the benefits of the military, because I joined as a reservist, and during that time, that was like during the situation in Iraq and Afghanistan, so they were like needing people essentially. And my job was 88 mic truck driver, so of course they needed a lot of transporters and a lot of transportation during that time. So they were giving out bonuses, they were giving back student loan repayments. So through their bonuses and offerings is like really what ultimately inspired me and sort of motivated me. So it was a sort of a business decision, essentially is what it was.
Right. Well, was that the only job opening, or was that actually what you wanted to go into?
No, that's not what I wanted to go into at all. I actually was trying to get into being a 74 Delta, which deals with chemicals. But whenever I went to MEPS, I got determined to be colorblind, very, very colorblind, which I never knew until I went to MEPS. So I was eliminated for that job. So the only job that fits what I was trying to do by staying in the reserves, by staying my reserve unit to be here, I had to basically just pick 88 mic. But it didn't matter to me because I was just doing it for supplemental reasons. So it was just, it didn't really matter.
Sir. doing the truck service, did anything stand out? Like, anything bad happened or anything good happened?
Not specifically to me, but people in my company, being that's actually the most dangerous job, being a transporter during those times, because IEDs was a big problem during that time. So even in training during AIT, they went over that a lot. IED training, and like I said, 3 people from my unit actually succumbed to death because of IED in Afghanistan. So it's just a part of the job. It's what you sign up for. But working at Kangaroo, you can get robbed and shot the same. It's just the dangers of life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the biggest obstacle or biggest challenge for the truck drivers, is the IEDs.
Right.
So
you did say you hadn't gone through anything like that. You didn't.
Not personally, no.
Gotcha. Did you come close?
No, no. I mean, to say close, who knows, because they're IEDs. Who knows what you drove past? But it's just a matter of no. I've experienced no physical harm except for minor things, scratches and things in the military service.
Gotcha.
So no.
Did you encounter any insurgency or?
No. So any glorious stories, they dismissed me as just a regular person in the military. Nothing extraordinary.
Being said, did you feel like you contributed?
I don't know, because I actually, like, whenever you wear your uniform, you be in an airport, you be in a store, you know, thank you for your service is what they say. I feel like I'm serving the country better as being a teacher than I did in the military. I'm actually, this is a tougher job. It's more, I think, honestly, in my opinion, it's more rewarding, it's more beneficial, it's more authentic, in my opinion, teaching is. So, as far as being a contributor, I felt like I was, you know, doing the institutionalized thing, but I don't know that I was, in my opinion, I never felt like I was actually being a contributor. Actually, that's why my career was short, because I didn't feel like a contributor. I felt like a soldier,
right?
And doing what I was told to do without being able to think or having the capacity to be able to make decisions and be creative.
Right.
Doesn't really call for it in the military, you know. So
yeah.
Really,
how long did you stay in the
6 years?
6 years. And that was within the range, or did you said you quit early?
No, that's with my. I looked up my full contract.
Okay.
So it's just, I did when it was time to renew, which was just last June.
Mm-hmm.
I opted not.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. So you are retired?
No, not retired. I just finished up my contract. So retire means that, you know, you go through the 20-year process, or maybe more for the reserves, and you actually receive a pension. No, I don't receive a pension.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. What was boot camp like?
It was not as bad as I thought it would be. Like I said, the biggest issue was just being on somebody else's time and not being able to be as independent as you're used to. But I'm a very go with the flow type person anyway, so I just sort of just went with the flow. You know, I didn't try to be too abrasive.
Right.
Yes, drill sergeant, no drill sergeant. Keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. I mean, it was definitely fun. But I had been in college for 2 years by then. So the demographics for like a recruiting class is like high school, you know, recent high school grads. So I was just in an environment of people who were, in my opinion, just intellectually behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was I was thinking too much in a situation where it wasn't really required.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always, that's how I am now. I would read, because whenever you go to boot camp, they're institutionalizing you. That's what they're doing. They're bringing you into them.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever you're sitting around for processing, they give you pamphlets to read. They talk about the military history. It just talks about different wars and goes into specifics about different scenarios in those wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, it's all biased. And as an English teacher, I'm really reading it differently. You know, than an average person. So I'm really being analytical about the words that I'm reading. So I'm thinking, well, it's very biased, it's very one-sided. So I'm thinking, like I said, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking too much. And I'm not being institutionalized. I'm sort of remembering our country's foundation and how the military played a role in that. And just considering all that, remembering our country's not that old. Just considering a lot of the time, I thought, what am I doing here? As a colored person, especially as an African American person, what am I doing in the military? So a lot of that went through my mind during that time where you're left to do nothing else but think about stuff like that.
Right.
So,
did you ever get in trouble for thinking outside the box?
I do remember I used to always get, there was one time like we had a PT test. And like I said, I was in college 2 years before this, and when I was in college, I was on the track team, so I was athletic. And I sort of didn't look athletic, I don't know, glasses and everything, so I didn't look athletic. So whenever we ran our 2 miles, they asked us our time, and I reported my time, and my time was really low, like fast, it was a fast time, so the drill sergeant didn't believe me. So I was like, that's not your time, because everybody, they just said, I was like, I'm an athlete, drill sergeant. And he's like, you're an individual. And I got chewed out about that. You're an individual. You want to do your own thing. You want to be athletic. You want to be like, what? So that was my first, I guess, introduction to the fact that, you're not going to be able to think outside the box. You're going to have to be able to conform, So, and I got a lot of issues about, I guess, flack, I guess is what I got, about just, I don't know, not doing what everybody else did. Like, I don't know, they were just robots, and I was not a robot. Not that I caused any stir-ups or anything. I just wasn't as willing to or able to conform. During basic training, at least. But once that's over with, things went pretty smoothly after that. It was fun though. I mean, I wouldn't have traded it for the world. It was exciting. I mean, you get to shoot guns. You get to shoot all types of weapons that you never even thought about, that you see on video games and everything. You actually could hold in your hands. So it was actually nerve-wracking because people would talk in their sleeps. They would talk to drill sergeants in their sleep, and so when you would go to the range, you'd be like, these people are mentally unstable. Like, what? And, you have a weapon in your hand, and you never know. Everybody has a weapon in their hand. So I used to get really nervous when you go on the range, because you never know who these people are, and they have live weapons in their hands, and they could just turn on anybody and start shooting that quick. So I always used to be very nervous when you go to the range. So, but other than that, I really look back on it sometimes. It's one of those things that, one of those things in life that help you become just a better person overall. So,
can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Right. So, coming back home from boot camp, did you notice anything changed? Did you feel as if you were different, like, in any way?
Yeah, I guess you're super motivated just because you're first of all, you're in better shape than you probably were.
Right. Yeah.
But, so you're all all motivated about that. And so I guess you sort of look at your time differently, because the military basic training things, so although a lot of it's waiting. You wake up early, you utilize a lot of your day. And so coming back, a lot of my time management skills had enhanced. I guess for a while, like even my organization skills had become really keened in, because in basic training is what you're taught to do. So making up your bed, organizing your shoes and all that stuff, so that helped me out. Being able to just, although it definitely helped me out with just having a more pleasant disposition altogether. Because whenever you're in basic training, you're with people and for some reason, my company, we had a lot of people from the Midwest, like a lot of Caucasians from the Midwest that had never seen any colored black people. They just had never seen them. So being able to just spark up conversation, have to communicate, cooperate with people who have no idea about you. And it's not anything to them. It's just that nobody lives there. There's no black people in Iowa or in Nebraska. So it just happens to be like that. And so being able to just, like I said, be social to anybody in any situation is something that was enhanced through those experiences.
That must have been a good thing. Let's see. What inspired you to become a teacher? I mean, I think we touched upon this a little bit, but can you?
To be a teacher, this is something that I knew probably when I was in high school. I always wanted to be a teacher. Like, I don't know if it turned out how I imagined it, but nonetheless, that's what I imagined. But it's one of those rewarding jobs. A lot of jobs are just jobs. Like, literally, they're just things that you do. You work at McDonald's, you're just serving a burger to a person. You work at Walmart, you're just scanning their produce for them to put in the bag. You're not really doing anything. You're not thinking about anything. You're not planning anything. You're just doing something. You're providing a service for somebody else. I think there's limited actual professions in this world. I think teaching is one of them. Being a doctor is an actual profession in my opinion. You're actually doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing something. Nurses, those individuals do something.
Right. You're invited to different situations and circumstances. They're changing all the time.
Yeah, exactly. They're adjusting. They're not just like robots doing something. So I think teaching is that. Teaching is that every day is different. There's no 2 days that are the same by any stretch of anybody's imagination. You could come in today and think, oh, it's gonna be a bad day. Like whatever happened at home, it's gonna be a terrible day. Oh, then a student will say a joke to you and it just, brightens your whole day. And you're like, wow. Or somebody will say something to you or make you laugh. I don't know. It's just, and that could change your day. It's feeding off of people. You're dealing with people all day. So that's the most rewarding thing. Like the ups and downs, the good and bad, ultimately we're people. So that's really rewarding in ways that other jobs have not been rewarding for me. I'm 26, I'll be 27 next month. But in that time, I've had a lot of jobs, like 22 jobs, literally. Like Outback, McDonald's, like working everywhere, FedEx, I worked at UPS. Like I've had a lot of jobs at military. So through all those experiences, teaching, like I said, it's tiring. It's tiring than anybody can even imagine. People think, oh, you're just standing up there, just sitting at the desk, but it's mentally exhausting, it's emotionally exhausting, it's physically exhausting. You have to do it to understand. It's my first day teaching. I remember this. I was student teaching in college. And I was working at Chick-fil-A, and I had to quit my job at Chick-fil-A. I quit that day. My first day I student taught. I'll go to work later. And after that day, I was so exhausted. My first day, then I started teaching more. I was like, wow, this is really tiring. It's really tiring to teach in ways that you wouldn't even think. So that's what it is. It keeps you smart. It keeps you intelligent. It keeps you engaged in reading. It keeps you engaged in academia. It keeps you engaged in current events. That you have to keep, engaged if you're going to be a good teacher. So it really does keep you smart. It keeps you smart. That's what it does. So.
Have you stayed at one grade level?
I'm not taught. Here I have, but I've taught 6th grade. I've taught 12th grade. I've taught 11th grade. Here I've taught 9th and some English electives, which range between 10th and 11th and 12th. That's our teacher that's here. So
it's kind of like going back to school, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's like going back to school. And sometimes it can be draining because if you can imagine, English is. But I like English. You have to. There's no need to be English that you're not like English. You have to read and write all day. That's what I do all day. I read and write all day. So I enjoy it. Like I said, you have students sometimes won't receive what you're trying to get. I'm very into reading, and oftentimes I find it challenging because not too many people around here are. So it's trying to convey that trying to convey your interest. To them, I find very challenging, especially when I try to empathize or sympathize with their situation, try to put myself in 9th grade. I like reading it too, and even if I didn't, there's times I didn't. I sort of was just a pragmatist about things. Things just have to get done, so they get done. I don't really try to be abrasive about it, So I do find that challenging. I have to figure out a way to empathize with situations of laziness. But maybe I shouldn't. Maybe you should have no empathy for laziness around to understanding at least. But other than that, yeah, this is a good profession. It's a good profession to keep you going. You know.
I was thinking just now when you said trying to get on the level with the students and stuff. Back in the Army, you had a team of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever not see eye to eye, or did you guys have to work together to form the team?
Yeah, there's several situations like that, and that's what I talk about, where you're not necessarily familiar with people or used to people of their type even, but you still have to work cooperatively. And during basic training, there's situations where they force that to happen. You know, they're gonna pick people who aren't battle buddies and sort of randomize it so that you're now battle buddies with somebody you probably wouldn't have chosen for yourself, but now you still have to work cooperatively with them to make sure that they have your back and vice versa, because that's how things are when you go into war in the theater. You never know who's going to necessarily be there to support you. So you can't always have your friends to have your back, but it's anybody that you have to work cooperatively with. So
at the end of the day, there's no bias or anything.
No, you can't be, man. I mean, you can't. And like being a reservist, especially, I was teaching here, and I was teaching when I was a reservist. So I really felt like whenever I would go to drill, that was taking steps backwards. So here I am, and as an E4, you're just a lower level soldier. So here I am in an authoritative position as a teacher, you know. Then whenever I go to drill, I have to take several steps backwards as a lower enlisted, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm used to giving orders. Now I have to sit here and take orders from, in my opinion, were, you know, people who didn't have the intellectual capacity I had, but I was still having to receive orders from them and receive direction from them. Even as a lower enlisted, they knew I was a teacher. Matter of fact, Sergeant Hilton was he was one of the sergeants in my unit, and he would often have me teach classes. I would teach classes in the military. You know, I don't know if you ever decided to do a military class, but it's nothing like an academic class. But they knew I knew how to, you know, manipulate a whiteboard and just present like a teacher would present. So I would teach a lot of classes in the field and at the unit hall. So I teach in the military. So yeah, it was cool. I mean, I do miss some aspects about it, but you know, that it was always an intentional decision, an intentional business decision. It was always that, and I just kept it like that. You know, so what's what it was. Mm-hmm. You should have interviewed Mr. B. He got some great stories. No, Mr. No, I can't even say his name. You know Mr. B.
I think so.
Mr. B in 6th grade with the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Vietnam, or he was in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. He was a Romanian. I think he's Romanian. But yeah, he has great stories.
I think maybe Donovan did him.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Let's see. What about the staff here? How is it working along with them?
It's good. Like, are you referring to like the military staff or just the staff in general?
Just the staff.
It's good. And it's when I first got here, it was nice that, you know, it was that's what attracted me to the school. It was military magnet, you know. And like I said, Sergeant Hilton was my first sergeant. He was the acting first sergeant. When our unit got deployed, he was left behind, so he was acting first sergeant. So, you know, he's nice. The military personnel, really strong. We miss Colonel Dawson a lot here. He was definitely one of the things that sold me on this school. One of the people who sold me on this school. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that we have a lot of staff with military experience and military, you know, themed school. So they know the sort of expectations. Like Savinsky Smith, Miss Smalls, believe it or not, did some ROTC experience. So just having folks who are familiar with the experience is often a nice thing. And oftentimes I wish we could turn it up a little bit here and really bring ourselves back to the theme, you know, because there's a lot of things that we can,
I know.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
How long have you been a teacher?
4 years.
4 years. 4 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
4 years old.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Let's see. How do you handle a bad day while teaching?
Wow. I come here and take it every day. That's what I do.
Gotcha.
It is what it is. I don't know. I don't know if you sort of, maybe early on I would consume it and really just like think about it and really try to fix things. But with kids, a lot of the things they do are quick and in the moment anyway, and they don't think about it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the things they do, they're not even necessarily intentionally doing. So I learned not to really consider a lot of the bad things. And I don't know if, I don't even know. Because yesterday, maybe I did have a bad day, but I don't even know anymore. It's just like, it is what it is. And
Right.
whenever you get home, or whenever the day ends, the day ends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, made it to that day.
Right.
So I don't know if I consume anything anymore. You'd go crazy. And I used to a lot in the first year. Like, I would have parent meetings, and I would just like really think about what went on in those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I would have like maybe a child act up, so I'd go home and really think about it. But like I said, you go crazy, and that's why teaching is so different than the other thing. Because you know you work at another job 9 to 5. After that, you cut it off. Teaching this is kind of hard to. It's impossible to actually, because you're always thinking, you're always considering, okay, what's the next lesson? You know, maybe you have to go home and grade. There's always something that you have to plan. So it's never, it's absolutely impossible to work if there are hours between 7:45 and 3:45. If you just kept it at those hours, you get nothing done. You get nothing done. So that's the time we have to deal with you. So when are we supposed to? So it's a lot of extra work. So, but it is what it is. Like I said, it's. I don't know if it's financially worth it, but I guess it's morally and ultimately, I guess, worth it to the human spirit. I guess humanistically, it's worth it.
How much longer do you think you're gonna be teaching?
Who knows?
You're just gonna go.
So let's go with the flow. Wherever the wind shall blow,
Gotcha.
I shall go. Just keep it like that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought, is there anything I would change? Is there anything I would go back and do better or not do?
As far as
both teaching and the military experience.
I probably would go to the military right after high school, which I was discouraged from doing, so it didn't happen. But if I could do it over again, I'd just do that. I probably, looking back, I would do that. I wouldn't have gone to college because I incurred a lot of debt going to college straight after high school, which was unnecessary.
Yeah.
And like I said, I could do it over again. Maybe a 4-year degree wasn't necessary. I could have just did the 2 years and transferred over. Like, people do it. I tell the seniors, please do that. You're going to save yourself thousands of dollars that you didn't really miss. You're not going to miss anything anyway. So what's the point of incurring this? I wish I would have did it that way. So then the military would start paying for my school earlier. I would have did it that way. I probably would have been more discerning about the branch and the job that I received. I just was like I said, it was just a sporadic decision. And I went with it. I didn't look back. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. But I guess if I had to go back and carefully plan it, then I would have carefully planned it to become maybe Air Force. I don't know. Coast Guard. They had a big promotion back then where they were trying to get people commissioned. I probably would have took that scholarship. They would pay for your whole 4 years and then commission you. So I actually probably should have did that. But honestly, I was a college student.
Yeah.
I was a freshman during this time. College students get into college student things. So I wasn't fit to go into the military then. But if I could do it again, I probably would have went that Coast Guard route, honestly. Yeah, and I probably would have been a commissioned officer of the Coast Guard right now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
And then I would have been here. So I don't know. I'm often one not to really try to think about changing the the past, because I think people are sort of brought into situations for a reason. So these things happen for a reason. I would have been here for a reason. I'm put in the ninth grade. I teach ninth grade here, and our ninth grade here is tough.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody else could do that English 1 job right now like I could do it. So like I'm saying, people are brought here for a reason. So those kids are tough. And like I said, it take a lot to. So people are brought for a reason, I think.
Going back to the military aspect of your life, how did you stay in touch with your family? Was that possible?
Oh yeah, they love us. I think Sunday communication. Oh, letters of course. But Sunday communication, we got our phones on Sunday. They kept it locked up, and on Sundays, maybe not every Sunday, maybe a few Sundays, they let us call for an hour on the phone. But through letters was the best thing. And I remember my cousin, he just went to basic maybe a few weeks ago, and my aunt was sending out a message like, make sure y'all send them letters. And I responded like, yes, because that was like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, when they did the letter call, you get your letter call, or you get your name called, you got mail, it's like Christmas every time.
Mm-hmm.
And so through, who writes letters anymore? Nobody, unless you're writing to a military person that's running in jail. So when you see a letter, it's like really, it was really, I guess, special. So that's the way communication happened.
Do you feel at any point like you wanted to, the generic homesickness?
Not really homesickness. Like I said, I really considered my place in the military and considered why I was there. Really thought about that and really considered military and the U.S. military in general and its purpose and its history. I really thought about that while I was there. But as far as going home, no, not really. I had been in college 2 years. I had been away from home. I was a big boy then, so it was homesickness over.
That's good. What was the supplies like?
It was good, actually. It was great. I don't know if you've ever experienced military food, but it's the top of the line cuisine. So really good food. Unless you went to the field or were doing something away from the garrison, DFAC. But DFAC food was great. Field food, edible, not so much. MREs, if you get a good one. Yeah, if you don't get a good one, you can't trade. Not necessarily. But yeah, it definitely keeps you up. They give you a lot of calories, actually. You'd be surprised what calories you can take, but you'd be surprised what you burn too.
Right.
So like everybody gets in shape. So yeah.
Did you ever feel pressure, stress, pressure to do something?
Not really. Like, they were just introducing a thing called the stress card when I was in basic training. Like, I guess apparently if you're feeling overstressed, and you can imagine this, if you're feeling overstressed, you literally have a stress card that you raise and indicate that you're overstressed or overworked. But me, I'm too go with the flow, and it takes a lot to get me rattled and stressed. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not. But it is true. It just takes me a lot to get stressed or unnerved.
I think that's probably more of a good thing in the army.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Calmness is always key. But it just takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to. So I didn't really get stressed. A lot of people were high-strung about things, whether it be just cleaning up the barracks or trying to get everybody in line. Even with teaching, I'm just too relaxed. Nonchalant, I'm always cold. But I just don't really get stressed out too much. Despite my gray hair, it's just hereditary.
Let's see. Was there any period of fun that you guys could have? Not necessarily boot camp, obviously, but in your overall
military experience? Yeah, I mean the camaraderie is probably the best thing. The best fun you can have is just in conversation with people. So I think that's plenty of fun for me conversing with folks from everywhere, hearing about their experience. We had a lot of folks from Puerto Rico, a lot of Puerto Ricans. We had a lot of, for some reason, Africans. So just hearing about their experience, just conversing with those folks. Trying to figure out why they think we should be in the U.S. military. Just trying to figure out, interesting things like that.
Was there any cultural training, like, in beliefs or like your traditions or
training in those things? Yes. That's like I said, it's like Iraq, Afghanistan. So we do a lot of Islamic cultural training. They just do like teach us about their religions, teach us about their general beliefs, teach us about their general, I guess, morals, so that we wouldn't try to like contradict anything that they were trying to do, or like offend them in any way that we didn't realize we were doing. So there was a lot of training in that. And actually, I mean, with that being said, we did a lot of what you would consider racist cadences. I think about it, and it's kind of disturbing cadences while marching for cultural training about it. Anyway, I just thought about that. Wow, we sure did. We would march up, kill the Hajis on our way to learning about their customs. So yeah, it's a strange. And that's another thing. Like, we used to say something in cadence. I'm like, what? We're literally being trained to kill people. Like, you know how the military is glorified in a lot of ways, but ultimately, what is their job to do? You have to consider that. At the end of the day, you're being trained to kill people. So you have to realize that. That always just resonated with me a little bit.
Right. There's also cadences where, you like Alpha and Bravo, Charlie, guys kind of
upbeat.
Right.
Yeah, you have some upbeat, motivating cadences too. Yes, you do. That's why it caught me off guard when we saw the other ones. Like, we're not using this. But the cadence is all dependent upon whoever's saying the cadence. So it depends upon what your careers and your spirit. So
do you believe that was influential or just kind of dumb?
Well, to me, because like I said, I'm a very critical thinking person anyway. But for other folks, they're just gonna repeat. They're just gonna repeat. And whenever you repeat it becomes ingrained. That's what institutionalization is about. So it just becomes ingrained. And that's what their job is to do. They're ingraining it in your head and ingraining your head. You're just saying it mindlessly, but it's becoming a part of you, but you keep saying it. But me, I was just a little bit too mindy for that. So I was thinking about what I was saying, like reflecting on what I was saying.
Right.
So yeah.
Did you recall any particular humorous events or unusual events? Like this?
I guess this is highly unusual. I remember one time, I can't even remember what we did. Something stupid. But we had this basic training. We had to sit out there in the prone position, and just guard nothing. So we were sitting out there for a night. It was probably 8 hours, 9 hours in the prone position guarding. Just guarding. They're like, oh, y'all want to do whatever we do. Y'all want to do something? Okay, y'all going to guard the barracks all night. Guard anything. Yeah. So we're just sitting there guarding. They don't want you to. People are falling asleep because they're laying down in the prone position. You can't fall asleep. You got to hold guard for 8 hours. So stuff like that. A weird thing they did. I can't remember what they did either. Maybe you don't even do anything. Maybe they just try to stir up stuff just to have an impetus to have you do dumb stuff. Right. But one time they had us, we had it's awkward, you think. But we take off all our clothes, we had to take a shower. It's called lockstep. So we had to take a shower together in the barracks in 2 minutes. They gave us a ridiculous amount of time to all go take showers. Then we had to whenever we got out the shower, we had to move our barracks outside and move like our bunks and all that stuff and set it up outside. So we had to set up like the bunks, make up the bunks, set up the shoe display, do all that outside to bring it back inside. So we just, the games they play.
Yeah.
So we were just playing the game. We literally had to move all the stuff out, set it up, move back in, set it up, move back out, set it up. It just went off right there. I guess that's the most absurd, ridiculous thing. Yeah. I did the bullets and I hear other people's stories. There's a lot of weird, ridiculous things. It just depends on your drill sergeant, how dumb they want to be with you, or how much fun they want to have with you.
Right.
That's what it depends on. So, yeah.
I guess it's all a test of teamwork.
Yeah, that's what it is. Ultimately, that's what it is. Right. Yeah. Like I said, you sort of build connections. Because basic trainers are like 13 weeks, probably 15 weeks to be at all the time together. But you share such, I guess, rich experiences with those people. I still talk to some of the people. Like this one girl, she's from Charleston area. Mm-hmm. We went to NEPSI. We went through the whole process together. So I saw her transform into girly girl to soldier over here. So it's interesting to see people progress through those time periods, like coming into as a rough civilian into progressing into what they want to make you into. So that's very interesting to see that transition from people. Everybody changes physically. You'll have people drop weight, 30 pounds here, tone up real quick. So people just completely change right in front of you. So that's interesting to see.
I think I might be right when I say that the drill sergeants did all that weird, unusual stuff just to break your guys down one level and build teamwork, camaraderie from being all in one spot where it's all so ridiculous because they probably know that it's in that moment that you can relate to each other the best.
You're both going to do something stupid. You're
right.
Trying to, of course. And that's what it's about. So, and my uncle told me that as being a drill, there's going to be a lot of dumb stuff. Man, we had to do this one time too. They was like, okay, because I guess they were picking the platoon guy, and they were trying to determine okay, they had me up there. And they said I wasn't yelling enough. I wasn't mean enough. So we all had to go stand in front of a tree and yell at the tree for hours and just yell at the tree as if they were another soldier. Yeah. So we just sat and was yelling at the tree, giving them commands. So that's another ridiculous thing. I can't even think about it. It's just a bunch of dumb stuff, Yeah. You look back at it. Yeah. It's fun when you think about it. So, like I said, I wouldn't trade it for. I'd probably do it again. As much as you want to do this again, I probably would. Why not?
Yeah. I know you just said you caught up with her in Charleston. Did you? I'm betting that kind of brought back memories and stuff.
Yeah, of course. Every time I see her, I think about her when I first met her, in the whole recruiting process. And she was just so nervous, and so she was your typical girl. You probably would never see her outside of heels, super feminine, nails done, didn't want to touch anything dirty. Then you go into boot camp, and none of that stuff is true. Yeah. When you ever do your FTX, there's a period that women go a week without showering. And I don't know, too many women are used to that. So you can imagine how that could be. So it changes. You have no choice but to rise to the occasion and sort of just suck it up. So you see a lot of people sort of just being practical and just being, removing all these luxuries that we're used to and just getting to the brass roots. You're just really, surviving on the essentials. So when people are left to do that, it sort of just brings out their true characters. So that's interesting to see.
Did you collect any memorabilia?
Actually, no. And I thought about that when I saw my cousins. I don't even have my, when you have your photos in the process and you take that typical quintessential picture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have that in my possession. Like, it's like, wow, I have I'm bad at that too. I'm bad at collecting stuff, like my medals from sports in high school. I don't even have them. I don't even know where they're at. I have no idea. I'm not good at collecting memorabilia. I'm a very modest person. So I'm just like,
it happened.
Yeah,
I didn't. I can speak about it.
I'm not really. It's bad though, because sometimes I'm like, oh damn, I wish I could just have this to hang out, but it's not really a collector of those type things. So that is one of my biggest regrets. I wish I would have had just to have it. I don't even know how to. I'm sure there's a way where you can sort of trace. I don't even have my high school diploma. It's just things I don't even have anymore. I have my college diploma, my high school diploma, I don't even have. So, yeah, that's a lesson for you. Hold on to stuff because later on you'll be like, dang. So,
have you tried to keep record and stuff from now on?
No. Well, I still have that's simply because they're conveniently placed, but I still, and then I even get my undergraduate degree, the same case they gave it to me is still in there. It's kind of ridiculous. People will buy frames for it and all that, so this is not even, my master's degree, it's still in the shipment that they sent it to me. They sent it through the mail. Like I said, people put it in frames. I bought a frame and it was too small, and that was as far as it went. I didn't go back. I didn't go to exchange it. I didn't go to get a new one. I was like, dang. That was just sitting there in the same casing that they sent it in. And I have to do a better job of that.
Do you recall the days? The day your service ended?
June 28th of 2014. That's when my ATS date was, and it was just like it was a drill, and it was like they took me into the S4's office, and we just signed up. It was just a regular day. I didn't want to renew.
Gotcha. I think these questions are more focused towards if you did it a lot longer back, but you were teaching here, right?
When I got out.
I guess the basic question is, did anything change for you?
I don't know if you saw me, but I used to wear my ACUs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I was younger in the face then too. So I really would blend in with y'all. Oftentimes when my first year, it was actually kind of routine that I'd be stopped. Why were you at the teacher's lounge? And I had to show my ID, I'm a teacher. And so that's the biggest thing is the military thing. Cutting my hair, shaving and doing all that stuff. Not to say I missed it, but I guess I just sort of, and when I see my uniform laying around, I'm just, it took a while. I'm still getting there, but just getting used to I'm not in the military anymore. Going on base and went to the commissary, things that I was used to doing, and just, I'm not in the military anymore. So, not to say I missed anything. I think I lived out my experience there, and I did what I wanted to do, and I'm not dissatisfied with the decision.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Williams. Do we have any more questions?
No, sir.
No, sir. All right. This has been the conclusion of my Oral History Veterans Project. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.